Sairam everyone, and you all are welcome to our political science class. My dear children, let us continue with our lesson. What is democracy and why democracy? Children, before we continue, before we take up a new topic, just recollect what was the definition of democracy? Definition of democracy is the form of government where the rulers are elected by the people. Democracy is the form of government where the rulers are elected by the people, by the citizen. Yeah, you have to remember this definition. Let's move further. We are going to start today with a new topic of the same lesson, and the topic is features of democracy. These features will help us to distinguish between a democratic and a non-democratic government. Okay, which government is a non-democratic government? Which government is a non-democratic government? We can easily distinguish it. So, let's first see the 4 features of democracy. And the first feature is major decisions by elected leaders. I'll explain it to you in detail, but first let's see what are the 4 features. The second feature is free and fair electoral competition. The next one is one person, one vote and one value. And the last, that is the 4th feature of democracy, is rule of law and respect for rights. So these are the 4 features of democracy. Now let's talk about it, discuss about it one by one. Let's start with the first feature, that is major decision by elected leaders. This is our first feature of democracy. Children, I'll be taking you to Pakistan. This is the map of Pakistan. Let us find out what happened in Pakistan in the month of October in 1999. So I'm going to take you to Pakistan back to 1999. Look at this, sir, over here. Can you see the image? Do you know him? Have you seen him? Yes, he is General Parvez Musharraf, ex-president of Pakistan. Okay, now he actually was in military. He was a military general. He led a coup. You know what is a coup? Coup means to take over, illegal takeover. He led a military coup that was in month of October 1999 in Pakistan against the democratic elected representatives. He took over all the powers from them. They were the rulers who were elected by the people of Pakistan. and they were thrown out. Pervez Musharraf declared himself the chief executive of the country of Pakistan. Again, he changed his designation. See, he was in military. He became chief executive. Now again he changed his designation. He changed from chief executive to president of Pakistan. No one elected him. There was no election, but illegally he took over and became, in fact, declared himself as the president of Pakistan. Okay, children. In the year 2002, he held a referendum. A referendum is nothing but a ballot, elections, you can say, a poll. Okay. This referendum granted him extension for 5 years as the president of Pakistan. It was just, this elections were just for namesake. And he gave himself extension that more for next coming 5 years, he'll be ruling, he'll be the president of Pakistan. Okay, but he was criticized by everyone, nearly everyone in Pakistan. Pakistani media, human rights organization and democracy activists, they all criticized him. They said that this referendum was based on malpractices. Okay? He has used unfair means, unfair ways to contest the election and got the extension of 5 years as the president of Pakistan. Now further, in the month of August 2002, that is after his extension, okay, he issued a legal framework order. A legal framework order. Very important. This point is very important. This he did deliberately. Deliberately he issued this order because he wanted to become more powerful. Okay. He issued this order so that the constitution of Pakistan could be amended. They could bring changes in the constitution of Pakistan. He took all powers in his hand. He took all powers in his hands. Now, according to this order, okay, according to this order, the president became more powerful. He was the president, yeah? So he became more powerful. Now the president had powers to dismiss the national and provincial assemblies. And the work of the civilian cabinet was supervised by a National Security Council that was also dominated by the military officers. Okay, that was dominated by the military officers. But this National Security Council was dominated, as I told you, by the military officers. Now, elections were held. It's not that elections were not at all held in Pakistan. Elections were held in Pakistan for national and also for provincial assemblies after passing the laws. This elected representative, see, now for the namesake, for the people all to make to make quiet all the criticizers in Pakistan, the opposition people in Pakistan. What did he do? He conducted elections. This elected representatives have some powers. They had some powers. Okay. But some powers means you can say very little powers with them. But the final power rested with the military officers and the general, the president, Parvez Musharraf. They had these representatives, these elected members, they had very little more power. They cannot take major decisions, big decisions. It is democracy. Is it democracy in Pakistan? Wherein the elected leaders were thrown out. Can you call Pakistan a democratic country under General Parvez Musharraf? Was it a democratic country? No. The answer is no. Why? Because, see, representatives were elected for national and for provincial assemblies, but they were not rulers. They had very little power. All the powers of final decision making was in the hands of military officers and Parvez Musharraf, who were not elected by the people. Were they elected by the people? No, he declared himself the president of Pakistan. This happens in many dictatorships and monarchies. Okay, representatives are elected. They do have, elected parliament and also government, but the real powers were with one who were not elected. Same is the case of Pakistan. It was the military officer Parvez Musharraf. He was not elected by the people, but he had all powers with him. This cannot be called as people's rule. So, our first feature of democracy. In a democracy, final decision making must rest with those elected by the people. See what happened in Pakistan? Elected representatives were thrown out and the military officer came into power. So this is not democracy. So let us move on to our next feature, that is free and fair electoral competition. Okay, here you see the two images. Now I'll be taking you to China. Let's move on to China. Yeah? One more image for you all. Yes. Now, let's move. Elections were regularly held in China. Yes, elections were held. After every 5 years, elections were conducted for electing the country's president of China. For electing country's parliament. Okay, this parliament was called as National People's Congress. It was also called Kong Kong Rimen Dibio Daohi. It is also called as National People's Congress. Here is the image. This is Parliament of China. Okay, shall we continue? Now the Parliament, that is the National People's Congress, okay, had the power to appoint the president. There were nearly 3,000 members. These members, they were elected from all over China. army also elected some members for the parliament. But every candidate, before contesting election, needed approval. Approval of whom? All the candidates, they needed approval of Chinese Communist Party. Okay, Chinese Communist Party. Only those who were members of the Chinese Communist Party or the 8 smaller allied parties were allowed to contest the election. Are you all getting me? Only that person can contest election who was the member of Chinese Communist Party or its allied parties. What about the members then? What about the members who belong to other parties? They were not the members of the Communist Party, Chinese Communist Party. What about those members? Those members were not allowed to contest elections in China. These were seen in the elections that was held in the year 2002, 2003 in China. So the government that was formed in China was formed by Communist Party only. Only one party had the power. Okay. Now let's go to Mexico. It is Mexico. Map of Mexico. Okay. Mexico got independence in the year 1930. After that, elections were regularly held in Mexico. After every 6 years, elections were conducted to elect the president. Mexico was never under any military or dictator rule. But till 2000, every election was won by one single party, and this party was called as PRI. Full form of PRI is Institutional Revolutionary Party. You heard it right. Institutional Revolutionary Party. Okay. Many other parties, they did contest the elections, but they never managed to win. Now, PRI, was it that popular? Was it that popular party among the people of Mexico? Answer is no. Okay, no. PRI, what happened? How did then PRI won the elections? PRI used many dirty tricks, unfair ways to win elections. Like, they forced all the people who were employed in government offices to attend the party meetings, their party meetings. Then the teachers who were employed in the government school used to force the parents of the school to vote for the PRI party. Not only this, media ignored the activities of the opposition political parties. Instead, this media, they criticized the opposition parties. This shows that the media was too under the PRI. Sometimes the polling booth, polling booth, they were shifted from one place to another place in the last moment, in the last minute. Because of this last minute shifting, people found it difficult to cast their vote. PRI also spent large amount of money in the campaign for its candidate. Now, children, we saw what happened in China, also in Mexico. Elections did not offer any choice to the people. Am I right? In China especially, elections did not offer any choice to the people. They have to choose the ruling party and the candidates approved by the Chinese Communist Party, that is the ruling party. In the Mexican example, people had a choice, but practically it was just a formality. The elections were these elections fair? The elections which were conducted in Mexico, was it in a fair way? Did the people really elected representative of their choice? No. Answer is no. So conducting election, just you're taking elections for the name's sake and you're saying that my country is democracy. No, this won't do. It is not sufficient only to conduct elections, but it should offer a real choice between political alternatives. Only conducting election is not sufficient. It should give choice to the people. So, our second feature of democracy is democracy must be based on free and fair elections where those currently in power have a fair chance of losing. Okay, this is our second feature. Now let us move on. One person, one vote, one value. This is the third feature of democracy. This principle has been accepted in almost all countries of the world. Yet there are examples of denial of rights to vote. To understand this feature, let's go to Saudi Arabia first. I'll take you to Saudi Arabia. Okay, this is a map of Saudi Arabia. Women in Saudi Arabia did not have right to vote until 2015. Now they have right. But till 2015, women in Saudi Arabia, they did not have right to vote. I'll take you to Estonia. Okay, here citizenship rules in Estonia denies voting rights to Russian minorities. Look at what happened in Fiji. The electoral system in Fiji is such that the vote of an indigenous Fiji has more value than that of an Indian Fiji. Okay, you saw all these countries. So democracy is based on fundamental principle of political equality. Everyone should have voting rights. Am I right? So our third feature is each adult citizen must have one vote and each vote must have one value. Now let us go move on to our next feature, that is rule of law and respect for rights. This is the last feature of democracy. To understand this feature, let's go to Zimbabwe. Okay, this is the flag of Zimbabwe and the party symbol. Can you see? Yeah, so let's move further. In 1980, Zimbabwe got freedom. Freedom from the white minorities. White minority means the people, the European people who went there for business and they stayed over there. They didn't return back to their countries. Okay, so this Zimbabwe was ruled by the white minorities and they got the freedom in the year 1930. Since then, Zimbabwe was ruled by ZANU-PF. Now, ZANU-PF, what is ZANU-PF? ZANU-PF is a political party. This was the party. This ZANU-PF was very famous party. Because this party was the party which led the freedom struggle. Okay, it played important role to free Zimbabwe to get independence. Now look at this. He is Robert Mugabe. Robert Mugabe. Okay, now who is he? I'll tell you. Robert Mugabe was the leader of ZANU-PF party. He ruled the country since the independence, from the time when Zimbabwe got independence, that is from 1980. This party won all the elections which were held. All the elections were won by this party. Robert Mugabe was popular. He was liked by the people as his party led the freedom struggle. People liked him. People liked his party also because it played a very important role in the freedom struggle. But Robert Mugabe used unfair practices. Yes, he used unfair practices to win elections. Several times the constitution was changed under Robert Mugabe. Yes, he changed the constitution, the rules under him, his government. This changes was done to increase the power of the president. And who was the president? Robert Mugabe himself. And make him less accountable, less answerable to the people. He became so powerful that he is not supposed to answer why he is doing that. Why this law has been introduced. He need not answer this to any people or any party. Okay, he changed the constitution accordingly. Now this government harassed the workers of the opposition party. Also their meetings were disrupted. Meetings of the opposition party were disrupted. Protests by the people and also demonstrations by the people were declared illegal. One who is doing this will be put behind the bars. Okay, a law was introduced that limited the rights to criticize the president. That is Robert Mugabe. Media. Let me tell you about the media. Media, that is the TV and radio channels, they were under this government. They were controlled by the government. And this media gave only and only ruling party's version. All the positive news about the ruling government. Independent newspapers were there. Yes, which was not under the Mugabe government. But this government, Mugabe's government, harassed the journalists who wrote or said against the government. Now, not only the journalists were harassed, even the court judgments. The judgments given by the court were ignored. He used to ignore it. Okay, by this government. In such case, they pressurized in many cases, they pressurized the judge to give judgment on their side. Okay. So, what happened? In 2017, he was forced to leave his office. Robert Mugabe from Zimbabwe, the president of Zimbabwe, was forced to leave his office. That was in the year 2017. When we studied about Zimbabwe, we came to know that popular approval of the ruler is necessary, is important in a democracy. But also popular government or popular party or popular leader is not sufficient. As we saw, Mugabe was popular, but he used unfair ways, unfair means in the election. So popular government can be undemocratic. Popular leader can be autocratic. If we wish to access a democracy, it is important to look at elections, but it is equally important to look before and after election. What is happening? The state should respect some basic rights for their citizens. They should allow the people to think, to have their own opinions, to express this in public, to form associations, to protest and to take or involve in political actions. Everyone should be equal when it comes to law. These rights must be protested by an independent judiciary. Okay, whose orders are obeyed by everyone? Yes, independent judiciary whose orders are obeyed by everyone. So democratic government cannot think whatever it likes simply because it is in power. They have to respect some basic rules. Every major decision had to go through a series of consultation. They cannot take decision. They cannot introduce any law according to their wish to be more powerful. No, they should consult other peoples also. Each office bearer has certain rights and responsibility which is assigned to them by the Constitution and law. Both these aspects gives us the fourth and final feature of a democracy. And what is that? A democratic government rules within limits set by the constitutional law and citizens' right. I'll repeat again. A democratic government rules within limits, okay, set by constitutional law and citizens' right. My dear children, we will stop over here and we'll continue in our next period with the same lesson. That's all for now. Thank you and bye.